Welcome to the Zoning Board of Appeals Tuesday, May 9th, 2023 meeting, which is taking place at 120 Main Street, North Andover, Mass. I will start by reading our wonderful little paragraph that I guess is still in effect. Okay. Pursuant to Chapter 2 of the Acts of 2023, this meeting of the North Andover Zoning Board of Appeals will be conducted in person and via remote means in accordance with applicable law. Specific information and the general guidelines for remote participation by members of the public and or parties with a right and or requirement to attend this meeting can be found on the town's website at www.northandoverma.gov. For this meeting, in-person attendance of members of the public and board members will be permitted. Members of the public who wish to watch the meeting live may do so on their televisions by tuning to Comcast Channel 8 or Verizon Channel 26, or online at www.northandovercam.org. Every effort will be made to ensure that the public can adequately access proceedings in real time via technological means. In the event that we are unable to do so, despite best efforts, we will post on the Town of North Andover website an audio or video recording, transcript, or other comprehensive record of proceedings as soon as possible after the meeting. If the public would like to participate in the hearing but not attend the meeting in person, please email your questions, comments prior to or during the meeting to jbattersby@northandoverma.gov. That is jbattersby@northandoverma.gov. The question/comment will be read during the proceedings and responded to accordingly. We will now do the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We have the acceptance of the meeting minutes from April 11th, 2023.
I make a motion to accept the minutes from the prior meeting.
I'll second.
Can I get an all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Okay, we now have the continued public hearing of 335 Salem Street.
Good evening.
Good evening.
For the record, Mark Johnson. I'm here representing Lynn and John McLaughlin. They're here as well. And Jack Sullivan, who's the project engineer, is here as well. At the last meeting, we spent probably about an hour and 20 minutes talking about and or, and how the two go together and how to interpret this section of the bylaw that we've looked for both a finding as well as a variance from. At the last meeting, you had asked if we would do some legal research as to the significance of the word and or, and I submitted, I think, a 4 or 5 page memorandum on the legal research on that, and it's our belief that and means and. You need to have both of the series in order for it to apply.
Could you speak up a little, please?
Oh, sure.
Thank you.
Yep, no problem. Do you want me to start over?
No.
Okay. It's our belief that the research we have done, the end result of it is that there is a difference between the word and or, and that and requires both or any number of a series of events to occur, or is one or the other. And attached to the to my letter memo there are a couple other documents. One is we found a legislative research and drafting manual from the Mass General Court, which actually had a definition of and or that indicated that and means all of the listing items, or means any one or more of the list of items, and do not use and/or. So I believe that the way the bylaw is written, it would require for land to be excluded from the calculation of the lot area. It would require that it be a resource area, both under the local bylaw and under the Wetlands Protection Act, and I don't think there's any question that it is not a resource area under the Wetland Protection Act. At the meeting, there was also some discussion about wetlands and what wetlands is on the lot and the various setbacks. We have provided a plan, and the plan is actually up on the board. Under the local bylaw, the wetland bylaw, there is a protected area that's 50 0 to 50 feet from the wetlands, and an area that is 50 to 100 feet from the wetlands is considered to be buildable, though you need an order of conditions. So there is no outright exclusion for building within that area. And maybe Jack prepared that plan. Maybe Jack can take you through that.
Yep, just for the record, I'm Jack Sullivan, I'm the project engineer. And just to piggyback onto what Mark said, the North Andover bylaw, the wetland bylaw, from 0 to 25 feet is a no-touch zone, no disturbance. You can't do anything in that area. Between 25 and 50, you can do grading activities. There can be work permitted within the 25 to 50-foot area. No structure can be placed within 50 feet of a wetland. And then the buffer zone between 50 and 100, you apply to the commission, they can approve the work within the 50 to 100 zone with conditions. It's not like you can't build it all within the 100-foot buffer. So what we tried to demonstrate in the plan that I provided is let's say the 50-foot no structure zone, so 50 feet from the wetlands, and we know this wetland's off-site, but the 50-foot buffer zone comes onto our property. And what we did is we calculated what the minimum CBA would be, what area we would need from the wetland to get the 75% upland requirement, the 18,750 square feet. So we would have to be 84 feet from the wetland in order to get the 18,750 square feet for the CBA requirement for this site. So we were trying to demonstrate that we would still be within the 100-foot buffer, and as Attorney Johnson said, the state doesn't recognize, it's just a wetland area itself. There's no protective buffers. The buffer's not a resource area. It's only under the local bylaw, like we talked about last time, that the 100-foot buffer is considered a resource area. So that kind of steps us through that definition, but I just want to be clear that I wanted to go through those buffer areas, and basically between the 25 and the 100-foot buffer, there can be work conducted, always has been, and you just file with the commission, and then they can set conditions on the approval for that work, but it can be approved.
You know, we've now run into another problem since our last meeting, which is two abutters have addressed the issue of the water flow.
They have questioned the water flow?
They're having concerns about the water flow and what the construction of this house is going to essentially do to water and flooding on their properties. I'm assuming you guys have seen these.
We have not.
We have not.
If you don't have copies, I can give them mine.
And just to add to that, at this point, we haven't even got into site grading, drainage. That this was just more to discuss the, I have.
Well, and understand one of our concerns is we don't want to, because the zoning board in the past has addressed, what digging in, construction, how that's going to affect the water flow for the surrounding properties. I mean, Jennifer's going to give you what we received, but I have a man standing in what looks like a pool, but apparently this is water flow from what we're looking at currently without a house. So that obviously is going to raise some concerns for us, because I know nothing has been done in terms of what's going to be done to make sure that this problem isn't worse for your neighbors. Because these are apparently two abutters, 270 Marble Ridge Road and 240.
Looks like those flooding areas are on the other side of the property, on the not where this lot's going, but I'd have to spend some time and look at it.
And the thought process that they have, which is fair, is would the building in itself further exasperate the situation? So
Which is obviously our concern as well, because we don't want to approve something to make something worse.
I understand that. We haven't seen it, so we really can't.
No,
can't
and I
respond to
completely
it.
understand that.
Do you have a picture of the man standing in the pool?
I
Well, for lack of
It's
other
a
words?
pond, not a pool.
A pond.
don't know where that's taken.
Yeah, I can't tell where that's taken. I mean,
You
we're
don't
seeing,
have to-
I
we're
see him
seeing
with the life jacket,
Yeah.
that,
Yeah. Yeah, this is with a life jacket.
If you
but I
just give
don't
us
know
a
where
few
the picture's
seconds.
taken from. I can't tell.
Do you think the life jacket is necessary?
Listen.
Well, I mean,
not-
if there
nobody
are
brings
questions
swim.
for the neighbor,
If-
for the
if-
neighbors and they wanna,
So we'll open up to the public in a minute. I didn't know
yeah.
if they have anything they want to. I know this is being
I
just kind
really,
of
yeah.
thrown at you.
I can't respond to it simply because it came in a couple weeks ago, we're seeing it for the first time.
I can take comments from the public, from the neighbors. It might help us identify better what we're dealing with in terms of these emails.
That would help.
Yep, that's,
I can't tell where that's from.
So I just need you to say your name and your address and speak into the microphone.
My name is Bobby Zayarath, and this is my husband Nathan Stiles, and we are the property owners of 240 Marble Ridge. So we're the ones at the corner of Marble Ridge and same street with the ponding area and the ditch.
Gotcha.
So we're not the Morgans, the Morgans were who we bought the property from 5 years ago, because I think that's what's listed up there for our property at 240. So the drainage ditch it is in our property, and that is the wetland resource area, but it also extends to the adjacent property. We don't know how far it extends, but we submitted what we got from conservation when it was originally put in the 90s, and it actually, the ditch and a pipe was put in to mitigate water problems, I guess, that was happening at that time.
Doesn't look
So-
like it did much good.
No, it helps our property with the flow, but when there's a lot of rain, I mean, it does get overwhelmed, and we get some more overflow on Salem's side into the ponding area.
That's from
The picture that you saw of the guy, that's actually, on the other side, 270. And that's actually how we met them, was because of flooding issues that they were having on their property. And whenever there are flooding issues on their property, we get directly impacted. So if they're getting a lot of water, we get more water flow coming. And it's not always when it's raining, because when he doesn't even have any water, there's some water that's coming from somewhere upstream, and we don't know where that water is coming from, but water is trickling. So you might see the rock wall there, but there is a little gap where the rock wall dips a little bit, so that's where the ditch part is that extends to the adjacent property, and so water flows through the ditch, but also from a pipe that's also in the adjacent property. So there's two places that water flows. So it doesn't just begin at our property that's drawn on their plot map. And I know Zach could have been here if he, would have, but, yeah. I don't know if there was anything else you wanted to say.
No, again, we met them when there was flooding issue, and the Raymond's Pond picture, and he actually ran a hose all the way from his property
To help
down into Salem
mitigate the
to
problems.
do anything to kind of relieve that water flow. And so when he was running a hose down there, we had a conversation of, hey, what's going on? So look, I mean, John has been great neighbors.
You guys,
And,
yeah. I mean, we have no issues with them whatsoever. He takes great care of their property, and he's always working hard in his yard. And we have no complaints. But with that being said, and I feel bad that they have to think about conservation, that's not an easy thing to always deal with, but we always have to think about conservation, because anytime there is something that we want to do, or a tree has fallen or something, we always have to contact conservation. So for us, being that there's already water issues around us, we're constantly thinking of what impact upstream may have on us, because we have downstream property. So that's...
Yeah, and just the latest, where we have like a conservation proposal now where on an industrial property, a developer came in years ago, put in a structure, left. 3 years later, it's causing downstream issues for several properties there. And they are now responsible for fixing that mess. And
So-
we may get the same boat because we don't know exactly what developers got where, and will eventually affect us if there's any kind of issues of groundwater flow.
Is this, oh, sorry, Steve.
I'm just going to say that at the hearing last month, I brought up my observation on Marble Ridge, the hoses. And I was going, where are they? Where are they? Okay, and so subsequent to that comment, obviously now the abutters were not here, but subsequently responded, and that explained why the hoses were there. It was to drain the water that was building up. So, I mean, it's interesting because I had observed that as just on the street.
I can't see the map, but from what I'm hearing you describe, it sounds like upstream is going up Marble Ridge versus coming along Salem Street.
Right, so it's
Right.
somewhere up, like, in between our properties, somewhere, I don't know where the water is coming from. I just know it's flowing down to us somewhere, from
Yeah.
somewhere. Yeah.
Where this house is located seems to be further away from what I'm hearing you describe is what you think is upstream, like coming up from Marble Ridge. No?
They're just 2 houses up of us.
So 270 is, but the house that we put is, when they say it's within that buffer zone, the map that was drawn
260
is
is,
not really correct because it doesn't show height to the property.
and the
north to
ditch,
us.
that's also extended.
So there's a lot more wetlands back there than is probably being described by the current map that you're seeing. And we submitted pictures, actually,
Like the map, the other top map that was from the 90s, and we apologize for that. But that's what we got.
Is this water that you're dealing with now, is it affecting your house or your, I'm seeing like the pictures in the woods, but is it affecting your, like, the yard you would actually use, or is it primarily?
No, it's not affecting the side that we normally use, that we use regularly. It's just that when our property turns onto Salem, it's that part that turns there, and there's another pipe there. And that one, when we get so much water, it gets overwhelmed. And so then on that side of the property, it's just still, it looks like woods, but it's still our part of property. We're still responsible for all of that.
Right.
It does get overflowed, overfilled with water, and sometimes I have to rake it and kind of just keep it off the mode part.
Shimmy it?
So between our properties, our John's properties, there doesn't usually be flooding as long as that ditch is fine. But again, it's continuous into when it bends over to Salem, then there's
To get into the pond
significant
area.
standing water there, even without heavy rains.
Okay. Any other questions from the board?
So are the residents from 270 here or not?
No, that's,
Oh, on the,
there he
hi.
is.
Do we have audio on him?
Is it
Am
okay
I
to ask
good to
questions?
try to talk? Is it working?
I would say let him make a public comment if he wants.
Thank you. Can everyone hear me okay?
Yes.
Yep, we can hear you great.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm the guy in the life jacket. So yeah, the life jacket was necessary actually because the drainage system that the pipe that Bobby is referring to is very ambiguous and unknown, and there's a sewer grate in our backyard, and we've never opened it before. So when we had about 3 feet of water in our backyard, and we had multiple plumbing and sewer companies out here trying to fix it, we didn't know where that sewer drain went. I didn't know, is it a big opening of a manhole? Is it a tiny little drain? So that's where the life jacket comes into play. But yeah, just speaking generally, I'm not sure which pictures were attached, but that water is in our backyard, and one of the images I kind of crudely marked up with some black text ink that you can see in the background where this property is being potentially skewed or it's going to be placed there eventually. You can actually see it from this image from the pond, right? So that's where our concern comes, because we really don't know, where does that pipe come from? Where does the water flow from? And our concern is we already have had multiple issues of this size of flooding. 3 feet, almost hitting our gas generator. We almost had to have the gas company come out here and turn it off. We have a finished basement. The water was very close to hitting there. That's when I got the hose system to drain water while we were sleeping because we were so stressed about water flow. So it's been a significant burden for us just waiting for this water to come. It doesn't even necessarily have to do with rain. As Bobby said, sometimes I don't know where the water comes from upstream. They release water sometimes to move. I don't know anything about that, but if they release water for drainage systems, sometimes that just all of a sudden the yard will just start flooding. It's not always that bad in those images, but I have 2 young girls. We bought this house as our dream house so we can enjoy our backyard. And as you can see from those images, when this flooding comes, it's impossible. It actually even smells. I don't know where the water comes from, but I can tell you it's not clean. So it's definitely been a big concern for us, and unfortunately we're just more worried about if you introduce something that is going to push water out. There's no way anyone can understand where that water is going to go, and it's already decided to have some kind of resting place on our land. And if for whatever reason some of the water underground was resting up there, and now we introduce something that's blocking that, where is that going to go? Could go to Bobby's, could go to the house. Bobby and Nate's could go to the house in between us, which is a dilapidated resident of North Andover. It's a house that no one upkeeps, right? So if there's some flooding there, that's going to spill to us as well, and he won't be responsible for it. So I hope that helps clarify some of the images. And apologies I couldn't be there. My wife's working there overnight, and I have 2 young girls. But thank you.
Thank you.
I had a question.
Oh.
I was curious, I know those pictures were taken in July of 2021, correct? Does that happen regularly, or was it just in July of 2021?
Yeah, so it didn't happen when we bought the house. I think we got the house in this late summer of 2019. That winter of 2020, we got a small amount, and we emailed the owners who were in Germany. They're like, once in a while you'll get a little bit, and they were even blown away by the small amount we sent in the picture. So it's a relatively newish thing that's happening, but it has happened every summer. That was obviously the worst one. Last summer, towards the end of the summer, it was a much smaller scale than that. I would say probably half of that, and it went away. But even that one last summer, I had to pay to have someone come out and run a snake, an industrial grade snake through it to try to clear it up or whatever. Wherever the water flow was getting stuck, they went 100 yards this way up the house, 100 yards this way through the drainage system to clear it out. So it does happen almost every summer, especially if it's not exceptionally dry. But to that dangerous of an extent, in those pictures, that's the first time we experienced that. But it does flood every year.
Anything else?
No, that was the big question.
Thank you.
We're happy to try to address what occurred tonight in the letters received tonight.
Okay.
I think we'll start by Bagger Jack.
Can you just get the mic a
Oh,
little
sure.
closer?
We will try to address what's come up tonight. I mean, obviously, if we'd had it in advance, we'd be in a better position to do that and to actually go out there and to try to understand exactly where it is.
Okay.
I'll have Jack start to address it from an engineering standpoint, and then my clients who live out there and address what they see out there as well.
Okay.
Excuse me, can I suggest maybe you want to continue it for a meeting so you can be better prepared?
I mean, we certainly can do that, but I think we'd like to,
It's up to you.
yeah.
I mean, I know you were just hit with these things, and
But let me,
sometimes you need the.
no, I mean,
minute to
yeah,
speak.
obviously, it would have been nice to have it in advance.
Hi, if you wouldn't mind, I say a few words. Maybe might not provide clarity, but at least some explanation. I'm John McLaughlin, for the record, and I certainly appreciate concerns that you have about water. I get it, and appreciate the neighbors at 270 and the Smith's house, the old Smith's house, that, yeah, there's a low area in that backyard. The Smith girls would get out in a canoe on occasion when you got really bad floods in their backyard. And Bob would be out there in his waders. So there is standing water there. I believe between your house, there's Joe Averka's house, and I'm going to guess that there's a clay pipe that runs from your backyard through Joe's backyard and meets the drainage ditch, right? That it was, when those homes were built by Mr. Alineo, when he built all three of them, I'm going to guess that that's where the pipe ran, along that line that it continues. In the worst rain that we've had, I've never had standing water on my property. So, you know, it's a good question about where it does go. And I'm going to guess that if some grades are shot to determine altitudes and levels and where the low point is that water is going to go to, I'm going to guess that you're going to see two separate watersheds, one that runs along Marble Ridge behind the neighbor at 270's house. There's a significant hill. It's probably the highest point around, and I believe all that fill came when the guy who put in the cellar of our barn dug it out with a horse and a drag and dragged it up there. And so I think you're going to see that our property at 327 is not part of this system that runs along Marble Ridge, along that lowest point.
And I hope that's the case.
Yeah.
Obviously, we want to
Sure.
make sure that if we're going to
Yeah, absolutely.
put something new in
I get it.
that can affect, we can satisfy the neighbors so that if something does worse come down
Yes.
the road, we can pretty easily say, well, it's not this because we crossed all of our Ts and dotted our Is.
Yeah, and that would only be the right thing to do, right?
It's the neighborly thing.
Yeah, and that's, you know, I hope that from the last meeting that you understand that kind of that's the approach here. And it's not a take the money and run approach.
That's what we're
Okay,
aiming for.
anything else I could add while I'm here? Any other anecdotal observation?
It's not an observation, but a question. It sounds like you think that the developer who built those lots up put in a private drainage. And from the abutter letters, it sounded like they thought it was a town project. Does anybody
doubt it.
know for sure?
That was done in the 50s.
Okay. That would be good to know, just like if it was,
Well, it's not on his property, so it's not
Sure.
going to, it's not going to affect whether or not we change the finding or grant the variance. It's really unfortunately more for the abutters to kind of look into it to try and see if the town is responsible for giving them pretty little ponds
Gotcha.
in the back of their yard,
Gotcha.
or if it's something they have to address personally.
Well, and
So-
what I would say personally is that to me, it's not just whether or not, like, you know, whose fault the current situation is, but whether or not your construction would exacerbate whatever
Yeah.
it is that they have, right? Because, you know, from their perspective, they have what they have, and it's, you know, an enormous barrier to alter that as well.
Yeah. And I think Bobby and Nate mentioned that where the drainage ditch is dug in their yard, and only in their yard, the drainage ditch did not go through Al McKee's old place, Joe Averka's house, who lives there now. The ditch?
The ditch goes.
Ah.
You can actually attach the pictures, and you
Cool.
can actually see it over the wall.
Smaller ditch.
I mean, yeah, it's
Yeah.
not as long as ours, but I don't
Yeah.
know how far up, because I don't walk on its.
And there's a
bottom.
clay pipe that comes, do you see the clay pipe coming from?
Guys, I just can't have you having like a side conversation.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, great.
Okay, so.
Anything else?
I think that's it.
Thank you.
I'll just add one thing, Mark,
Sure.
and then we can finish. So,
Oh, we have
I-
one more comment.
I'm sorry about that.
I figure
didn't
we'll
know you were
just-
there.
I'm sorry, Mr. Sullivan.
Sorry about that.
I apologize. My name is Albert Manzi. I'm not in a butter, but I am a member of the Conservation Commission. I'm here as a citizen. I'm not representing the commission.
Welcome, Mr. Manzi.
However, I hear the questions being asked, and maybe I can help. One of the things that's been talked about is, will the construction affect the runoff onto existing properties? If Mr. Sullivan were to come before the commission with a notice of intent to construct a house, one of the standards that he would have to meet before the commission would be the pre and post runoff. The pre-construction runoff and the post-construction runoff have to be zero. There can be no net increase in runoff on anything that's constructed that gets an order of conditions from the commission. If the pre and post are not the same, that's basis for a denial. So what that should give you is some level, I don't know if it'll give you any comfort, but just that is looked at as part of a notice of intent. The stormwater has to be managed by the applicant, and the pre and post have to match. If they don't match, it's pretty much game over. So I don't know if that, and
Trust me, I wish they were going to have to go to conservation, because then I'd have you deal with this.
well, I mean, and that stream, that ditch that everybody's referring to is actually an intermittent stream. It's existed in its place, in its current spot. It's been there for more than 75 years. And again, that anything that happens upstream of that intermittent stream has to meet all the setbacks, and it has to meet the pre and post construction runoff standards.
Okay.
So I hope that helps. I hope, and
It
if there's
does.
anything else I
Thank
can,
you.
thank you.
Yep.
So I guess now you know what we're going to be looking for.
Yep, and just to add to that, if we do any work within 100 feet of a wetland, we file with the Conservation Commission. In this case, I'm thinking we'd probably be able to keep the work outside of the 100 feet, but with that said, my drainage solution would be we'd still offer a dry well to be put in to capture the entire roof runoff of the new house. So you take that right out of the equation. So if we did do work within the 100 feet, we'd file with the commission, we'd file a notice of intent, we'd have to show there's the pre and post match, or there's a decrease in the post-development scenario. If we don't have to file with the commission, then this board could still put a condition that a dry well be placed to capture the roof runoff for this house. So there'd be some control, some drainage control, either through this board or through the Conservation Commission.
So what he commented on about the pre and post runoff calculations when you file an NOI.
Yep.
I mean, isn't that the case even if you're not going through Concom?
No,
No?
no.
Okay.
If we didn't have this whole wetland and CBA issue, and this was just a lot with sufficient area, and it's a single-family home, we file for a building permit through Paul. There's no drainage regulations on a single-family lot.
I understand, okay. Single family.
Yeah.
But if you were going for site plan approval?
Yeah, but if we have to go before the Conservation Commission, then it takes place because they have control on that. They'll want to see that you manage your drainage.
But, I mean, I guess what I would say is you can see why then that we get a little bit nervous on our end, right?
Right.
Because if this is not going to go in front of the Conservation Commission, but there are other drainage issues that we still worry about, then we become the board that has to supervise this.
Right, but you would have the ability to say, I mean, it sounds like we're going to continue, but I wanted
Yeah.
to just get this out in front of everyone before Mark made his.
Well, and what I would say is it would be for me more than just a stipulation is that I would want to believe that stipulation would be sufficient. Right, that's the I think the evidence that I would want to back that up.
Yeah, like I said, I haven't done any sort of grading, but
Absolutely.
I think in the past, and I don't know how this board's acted in the past, but usually if people offer some sort of dry well or they capture the roof runoff, that would typically, you're taking the entire roof area out of the equation drainage. Now it's being put into a structure that infiltrates back into the groundwater.
And I think under normal circumstances, that is what we would ask for. I think I'm a little more nervous about this, having looked at some of those photos of what the neighbor situation is, right? That I would say is a higher than normal amount of seasonal flooding that they get.
Yeah.
And I'm more nervous about a marginal change in their flooding levels than I would be in most cases.
Right, and it's something I'll look at.
Yeah.
Okay, so are there any other open issues other than this one that we should address, we should be prepared to address before the next meeting?
Anybody? I'm going to say that you're probably not going to get anything else from abutters, and if anything, it would
Okay.
probably be a water issue.
Well, I guess the big issue last time was about and/or,
Right.
and you have a letter in here. I guess you kind of,
There's not much more I can give you on the and or. We pretty much researched that, and I think based on our research, it's pretty clear that there is a difference. So unless anybody has any questions on that issue, I'll assume that we've addressed that, and no additional information is needed as far as that issue goes.
The and or is going to be addressed more so in the finding, where the water is going to be addressed for the variance.
Yeah.
So, and I don't think we can split them, since they're in one application, we kind of have to deal with them at the same time. So the and or issue might be,
well, I think, I might have misunderstood you. The water we want to address in either situation.
The water-
And the and/or is only for the finding versus the variance.
right, so even if he's addressed the and the or, and we're satisfied as a board on and or, we wouldn't be able to make a decision on the finding, because we're not going to make a decision on the variance, because we want more information on the water flow.
Right, my only question was is if you want any more information on the and or.
I think I'm satisfied with the and or. I
Okay,
appreciate
that's-
the work you put in for that.
Okay,
Which,
that-
let me say, it appears to be quite a bit of work that went into the
you asked us, you asked and we did.
And I appreciate that.
You did a good job, I understand, well, I would be lying to say I fully understood it. And if any of my board members fully understand it, they're better than I am.
I'm with you on that.
Okay, they're better than I am.
You would have not understood at all the first draft, so.
Right, okay, thank you.
Probably would have taken me more than a first draft. Anything else from the board? Okay, so then we are going to continue you until the June meeting, which is, if I have my right calendar, June 13th.
And then what is the deadline, so we make sure we get it clear as to when we can submit
August,
additional?
wait, no, that's not right. May 18th, John?
June 2nd.
Oh, June 2nd. Ignore me, I know nothing.
Okay,
And if anything does come through from a butters, I will make sure that you get a copy of it.
I appreciate that.
Not a problem.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next up is new public hearing for 70 Green Hill Ave. Alan, you are up.
You want to, wait a minute while the,
Oh, yes. I
to the
suppose.
confusion,
Yes.
empties out?
You know what? Did I say no? Oh, the rocks.
Do I start?
We just have to have the notice read in, and then you guys can go. I think we're just, wait, if you want to do the public, the legal notice?
This is regarding the petition of Mary Alice Rock and Paul Rock for property at 70 Green Hill Avenue, map 22, parcel 102, North Andover, Mass. 01845, in the R4 zoning district. Applicants are requesting a variance pursuant to Town of North Andover zoning bylaws, section 195-7.3 yards setback, table 2. Summary of dimensional requirements for one rear setback, the R4 zoning district, for the purpose of constructing an addition onto the existing home. Specifically, applicant has requested a rear setback needing a relief variance of 10.1 feet. Rear setback proposed is 19.9 feet. Rear setback required per table 2 is 30 feet. Per order, zoning board of appeals, Alexander Jacobs, Esquire.
I feel like I need to have a junior after my name.
Okay.
Thank you. Good evening.
Hello, thank you for hearing us tonight. I'm Mary Alice Rock, and my brother Paul and I share the property at 70 Green Hill Ave. and we're here tonight to petition for a relief variance of 10.1 feet to the rear setback of our property for the purpose of building an addition to our home at 70 Green Hill Ave. The reason for our need to build an addition is that our older brother, Steve Rock, will be retiring from active ministry in the priesthood next May and needs a permanent home after serving 50 years as a priest, including 34 years as a U.S. Navy chaplain. What better place to live than with his own family? Our family has strong roots in North Andover. Our mother actually was born right in North Andover, allowing her to have swimming rights in Lake Kachikwick.
That is very rare.
How about that? Yeah. And she grew up at Wilson's Corner when it was still a dirt road before Merrimack College was built. When she and my father married, they settled here to raise their 7 children, all graduates of St. Michael's School and North Andover High. My father was extremely active in town, one of the founding fathers of the Boosters Club, and a longstanding member of the school board. As a matter of fact, the overpass at the high school is named after him, as is Rock Road. Today, 3 of us siblings and 3 nieces and nephews and their families reside in the town, and 1 niece is a teacher at North Andover High. Paul, Steve, and I wish to age in place at 70 Green Hill Ave, surrounded by our family. We range from 67 to 75 years old and plan the addition to be more handicapped accessible in anticipation of our increasing health concerns. Now, for the physicality of the addition which drives this petition. We considered our options of building the addition of a bedroom and a bathroom. We could build up, which would not require a variance. However, we felt that besides being challenging to our aging bodies, it would also detract from the aesthetics of our neighborhood. Our home is at the corner of Green Hill Ave and Woodstock Street, and all of our Green Hill Ave homes and 90% of the Woodstock Street homes are ranches. To build up would just be an eyesore. So instead, we want to keep it at one level and build to the rear of our home. The one level would be less impactful to the aesthetics of the neighborhood. The attractive design would be consistent with the existing home and would have the same siding and windows. So because we have a corner lot, we have a little hardship. The setback dimensions are much more stringent for us than the rest of our neighbors. We have a 30-foot setback required on 3 of our sides, the front, rear, and Woodstock side. So like building up, adding to the front or the Woodstock side of our home would grossly change the character of the neighborhood. Building to the rear would be aesthetically our best option. So we're only seeking a 10.1-foot relief variance to the rear of our home, still leaving nearly 20 feet from the addition to our property line. Already at our property line, we have a tall hedge of arborvitae, which provides privacy and screening between our home and the DeLucas home to our rear. And they have, I believe, informed you that they support our proposed addition. The other neighbors who will be most affected by the addition are the Fitzgeralds, whose front door faces our home from Woodstock. They, too, are in support of our plans. And so there, too, on the Woodstock side, we will continue our natural landscaping to make the Woodstock side of the home even more attractive. So thank you for listening to our story, and we hope that you'll vote favorably for our relief petition.
I first want to say I give you guys credit. I don't know if I'd want to live with one of my siblings, let alone more than one.
Second that. I'll only add that as someone who's married to clergy, I appreciate your brother's service to the community.
In total, unless Jennifer has received more, I received 7 letters from abutters, every single one of them supporting your addition and appreciating the fact that you are coming to the zoning board to go backwards and keep it structured to fit into the neighborhood versus going up where you did not have to come to us. So 7 people supported that, which I appreciate because I will tell you from where I sit, how your neighbors feel matters a lot. So that's what I will put in. I don't know if there's questions from the board.
No, excuse me, I got a cough drop. I have to agree with you that instead of boat going up, where they could do it easy, per se, they decide to please everybody and do it in the backyard. I drove by there. There seems to be enough room in the backyard. The trees are there.
Yeah.
I have to congratulate you.
Oh, thank you.
Doing a wonderful job.
Thank you.
I also drove by, and on the other end of the street, the corner lot at the other end also has a addition on the back that goes nearly as far as this is going to go. It seems like it would bookend it pretty nicely, actually.
So I drove by as well. I didn't see you guys there when I drove by, though.
Oh,
It must have been a traffic jam, right?
we gotta coordinate better.
Someone bring coffee next time.
So between the abutters' support and then observing the lot, understanding the concept and the rationale, I fully support it.
Yeah, I was gonna say the same thing. I drove by, I didn't see any of you guys there, but I want to remind you.
Okay, fine, I drove
No,
by too, I
wanna-
just
no,
feel
but
the
I
need
want
to
to
say it.
remind Steve and Michael, the last time 3 of us went out to do something together, we got stopped by a police officer.
Oh, no.
Yeah, so it was probably good we weren't there at the same time. Yeah, it looks like there's plenty of privacy in the back. So I would also like to, I think this is a wonderful thing to do. It really is wonderful.
great.
Yeah, I'm good. I mean, as Alexandria said, like, if the neighbors are fine with it, then as far as I'm concerned, that's the best way to go.
Is there any public comment on this? Okay, everybody just sent in letters. Any other questions, comments from the board?
No?
I make a motion to close.
Well,
the
hold
public
on.
hearing.
So there's no more questions or comments from the board, which at this point, we would then close the public hearing and the board would discuss and vote, if that's the route you would like to take.
That sounds good.
Yep.
Okay. Now you can make a
I
motion.
make a motion to close the public comment.
Second?
Any discussion needed?
Well, all those in favor?
Oh, I'm sorry. All those in favor?
Aye.
I figure somebody will say no if they're not.
No
Comments,
discussion.
questions?
No comments or discussion.
I have nothing to add.
I feel like we all start
Okay, then can I have a motion to approve?
I'd like to make a motion to, hold on one second, to grant the variance pursuant to the Town of North Andover zoning bylaws, 195-7.3 yard setback. Table 2, summary of dimensional requirements for one rear setback, the R4 zoning district for the purpose of constructing an addition onto the existing home. Specifically, applicant has requested a rear setback needing a relief variance of 10.1 feet. Rear setback required per table 2 is 30 feet. I'd like to grant that variance.
Can I have a second?
Second.
Who's voting on this?
Jen?
I think it's just the regular size.
Oh, right. The full board. Do I have to go through individually, or?
Yeah.
Yeah, do the roll.
Okay, Steve?
Yes.
Al?
Yes?
I'm an aye.
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 All in favor? So you guys are all set?
That's so great. I don't know why everybody said it was going to be so tough.
You know, they just,
Whatever you want.
they think we give them such a hard time. If you'd like to stick around, though.
And can I say one thing? Thank you for the history.
You're welcome.
Yes,
Thanks a bunch, everybody.
I walked that overpass many of times during school hours and after school hours, and again during school hours. So,
There you go, now you know.
See you on Lake Chickaway.
listen, there's big issues now if you jump into Lake Chickaway. Not when I went to Brooks Camp. When I went to Brooks Camp, you threw people in Lake Chickaway. But now,
I see the signs.
no, now it's like a big, huge EPA disaster zone.
Well, that's our water source.
Have a little fun. All right, it's getting filtered. People really are. Hi, guys. I'm losing my clerk.
You,
My vice is going to be taking over as my clerk.
All right. I apologize for the scratchy voice in advance.
So
are we doing both at once? Or
We are going to have you read both in at the same time. Is that correct?
Thank you. All right.
You want to read the other ones at the same time?
Yeah, let's do it both at the same time. Talk over each other. I think that'll be great.
Saves us time.
All right. Notice is hereby given that the North Andover Zoning Board of Appeals will hold a public hearing at the North Andover Town Hall at 120 Main Street, North Andover, Massachusetts, on Tuesday, May 9th, 2023, at 7:30 p.m. to all parties interested in the petition of Zenco LLC for the property of 122 Mill Pond, Lot 1, map 095.A, parcel 122, North Andover, Massachusetts, 01845 in the R4 zoning district. The applicant is requesting a special permit pursuant to the Town of North Andover zoning bylaws, section 195-4.3.N1B and subsection N4, two-family dwellings by special permit in accordance with section 195-10.7 of this bylaw for the purpose of constructing a new two-family residential structure. Specifically, applicant has requested to raise the existing tennis courts and construct a new two-family structure on the vacant lot. Application and supporting materials are available for review at the Office of Zoning Department located at 120 Main Street, North Andover, Mass. on Monday, Wednesday, and Thursday from the hours of 8 a.m. to 4 p.m., Tuesday from the hours of 8 a.m. to 5:30 p.m., and Friday from the hours of 8 a.m. to 11:30 a.m. By the order of the Board of Appeals, Alexandria A. Jacobs, Esquire, Chair. All right, and I'm just going to read the next one straight on here. Notice is hereby given that the North Andover Zoning Board of Appeals will hold a public hearing at the North Andover Town Hall at 120 Main Street, North Andover, Massachusetts, on Tuesday, May 9th, 2023, at 7:30 p.m. to all parties interested in the petition of Zenco LLC for property at 122 Mill Pond, Lot 2, map 095-.A, parcel 122, North Andover, Massachusetts, 01845 in the R4 zoning district. The applicant is requesting a special permit pursuant to the Town of North Andover zoning bylaws, section 195-4.3.N1B and subsection N4, two-family dwellings by special permit in accordance with the section of 195-10.7 of this bylaw for the purpose of constructing a new two-family residential structure. Specifically, applicant has requested to raise the existing tennis courts and construct a new two-family structure on the vacant lot. Application and supporting materials are available for review at the Office of the Zoning Department located at 120 Main Street, North Andover, Massachusetts, on Monday, Wednesday, and Thursday from the hours of 8 a.m. to 4 p.m., Thursday from the hours of 8 a.m. to 5:30 p.m., and Friday from the hours of 8 a.m. to 11:30 a.m. By the order of the Board of Appeals, Alexandria A. Jacobs, Esquire, Chair.
Take a breath. Good evening, guys.
Hi, thank you. Thank you very much. Can you hear me okay?
We can hear you great.
Okay. Thanks for hearing these two applications simultaneously. I think it's a good use of time. For the record, my name is Tom Zarico, 4 High Street, North Andover. These special permit applications propose to remove the tennis courts at 122 Mill Pond at the corner of Harkaway and Stevens Streets and redevelop the site with the construction of two-unit townhome buildings, each a separate two-family on its respective lot. The tennis courts are an underutilized asset that the HOA feels can better serve the community by providing additional financial strength to the HOA in order to be better prepared for long-term maintenance and improvements affecting the units and grounds of the entire Mill Pond complex. Early in the process, a technical review committee with town staff was convened to discuss the general concepts of this proposal and to consider input and suggestions from all appropriate town departments and staff. In-person and electronic discussions with some abutters also provided some perspectives which were incorporated into the planning process. The HOA followed their bylaws and appropriate informational sessions and votes, wherein the overwhelming majority endorsed the proposal to have this site developed by a vote of 98-8. Pursuant to that action, the site was surveyed, existing conditions were documented, and an A&R plan was presented to the planning board, which was approved to split the parcel into two zoning-compliant R4 lots. These special permit applications are submitted pursuant to section 195-4-3-N or .1, which provides for two-family structures in the R4 zone. along with a concurrent Conservation Commission application to be heard actually tomorrow night regarding activity in the buffer zone of the wetlands located across Stevens Street. Nothing on this site, the wetland is across the street. The existing conditions present a relatively flat site dominated by the 2 tennis courts and the Mill Pond Mail and Maintenance Building. The primary frontage is on Harkaway Road to the south. Secondary frontage is on Stevens Street to the east. To the north is a wooded area that includes the railroad bed, right-of-way, and beyond that is a single-family home and lot. To the west are additional Mill Pond units. The area of the site not covered by the tennis courts or structures are grass and dirt with a few mature trees near the street. Water, sewer, and electric service exists in Harkaway Road. After drafting a number of alternative site plans and concepts and taking into account input from town staff and area residents, the site and unit plans presented in these applications were then designed and engineered. Consideration was given to safe access, abutter privacy, environmental sensitivity, and continuity with the existing aesthetics of the Mill Pond neighborhood, and then tempered with knowledge of current regulations and codes. The combined improvements on the 2 lots include 4 residential townhomes, driveways, fencing, and a small area of patio, all at a dramatically lower density than the existing Mill Pond townhomes. An evergreen screen along the north border is proposed to enhance privacy for the one direct butter who was not part of the Mill Pond neighborhood. The drainage report confirms that there is no increase in stormwater runoff. That's not a requirement, I know, of this application, but knowing how drainage discussions are very prominent in these and all other board meetings, we wanted to just address that right up front.
We like our water.
Yeah, right, so.
We like our water moving, not staying still.
Like talking about it.
Still, we included the rain garden to collect roof runoff and, through a gutter and pipe system to further improve the stormwater situation. Although it's not material to the application, some cosmetic and functional improvements will be made to the existing accessory structures as part of the agreement between me and Mill Pond HOA. The proposed townhomes are intended to blend with the existing designs, but with improvements and compliance with current codes. These townhomes represent smart growth in that they are pedestrian-friendly in their location. They're walkable to schools, banks, restaurants, convenient services, efficient use of resources in the provision of quality housing, and an increase in green space. This presentation is intentionally brief, but with sufficient detail for the board and the public to understand the nature and scope of the proposal, and then ask for more detail if it's needed. So with that, I'm happy to answer any questions or address any issues.
Anything from the board?
No, just to make sure I have this right, this is gonna sound really dumb, but I gotta do that. So this is just a special permit to build multifamily housing in an area that's full of multifamily housing?
Yes, actually, not technically multifamily, because that would require a variance.
Okay.
It's for a 2-family, which is allowed by special permit. Variance
Okay.
would, or multifamily is allowed or by a variance, but there's a whole different set of standards and issues that come up with that, as you know. So,
Semantical problem.
yeah.
And
exactly.
so, I just want to make sure I fully understand as well. So the Mill Pond HOA is the owner of this property, right?
That's
Yeah,
correct.
and so the residents of Mill Pond, the owners of those properties, they all jointly own this, and this
Yes.
is, okay.
Yeah, and I think they needed a 75% supporting vote. So
90 to 8, you said, right?
98 to 8.
98 to 8 was
Yeah.
Yeah.
So will this be part of the Mill Pond?
Yes, it will be part of the
complex,
same
just a
association.
separate part?
Yeah.
Well, is it a separate part?
No.
I guess you you subdivided the lots.
That's right, because what we're
but
trying to
I wasn't
do
sure
is...
of the ownership status.
Yeah, what we wanted, the ownership, it'll still be part of the same HOA. We subdivided it to prove that it complies with zoning.
Because you could do
Right, that's
two
why we did
units
it.
on
If we
per
left
lot.
it, if we left it as one parcel, it would have required a variance to do the same thing.
Is the rest of the Mill Pond complex one parcel?
No, it's multiple parcels. In fact, it's
You
a...
can see the divisions actually on this.
Yeah, it's
Slivers.
It's something that we're not allowed to do anymore, and for probably good reason, I guess.
Those 2 buildings, the post office being one of them, whatever the other one is, will those continue to exist and where they're positioned right now?
Yes, the intent is to leave those there as accessory structures. They're on the larger of the two lots, yes.
Certainly will be built better than Mill Pond, I can guarantee you that.
Now, I'm just curious. Mill Pond is condos, right?
It's actually, what is it called, a PUD, or, yeah, it's a PUD technically, yeah. So, planned unit development. It's just it's another, I guess.
But I mean, like, people I've seen them listed for sale. They're like,
Oh, yeah, yeah.
But you're required to be part of the HOA if you purchase a property there.
Yes.
And then that has a
yeah, but
month.
it's like any condo.
Right.
Yeah.
So are these, like, is this going to be sold as Unit 1, Unit 2, Unit 3, Unit 4? Or are these going to be?
Well, I'm not sure what they're gonna be numbered, but
No,
they'll have to be unique, they'll have to be unique in some identification. We're not actually taking title to the property. If this transfer occurs, it's really just the development rights that are being transferred, not the property and title.
And so I think to Alexandria's question, are these being sold, will these be sold as 4 different condos, or will they be sold as 2 different units that then someone could rent one of them out?
They're separate units. They're
Right,
not,
there's 2, how do I say this? So, like,
It's a total of 4
so,
units.
right, so there's a total of 4 units, but you've got 2 lots. So
Correct.
how does that get divided up when it's sold? Is it?
the lot does not get divided.
Okay.
It's all common, even those areas that are
Yeah.
private courtyards.
Okay.
Are part of a common land.
Gotcha.
The documents have to be developed for that, but typically they're exclusive use areas within the common land.
Okay.
Okay.
So what you're saying, Tom, is that, if I'm understanding this correctly, is Mill Pond is converting non-revenue producing tennis courts, since these 2 facilities, these 4 units are a part of Mill Pond, they've turned it into more residents and revenue producing to the organization.
That's correct.
Okay.
Did the tennis courts not get used, or is that not part of the factor?
They didn't look used.
Yeah, they didn't look very
Used to
used.
store equipment.
Yeah.
One of
Yeah,
them used it is not used for tennis, apparently.
So I have to say, I'm interrupting on this one, but in all the years that I've lived here, I never have seen those tennis courts in use. Today, when I drove by, there was a guy out there with a tennis, he was blowing away. It's the first time I ever saw anyone on a court. So I was like, this is crazy.
Trying to make a point.
Yeah.
So will these be PUDs as well, or will they be condos?
No, it's gonna be kind of, it's gonna be a slightly different set of documents, but they'll still have to dovetail with the PUD, yeah. So it's a little bit of a hybrid. It's, when we built Meeting House Commons, we had separate but together elements of that development too. If you're familiar with that, we had single-family detached condos. We also had combined townhouse units in various aggregations, and it just requires a little bit more involved documentation. Yeah.
So, will the land still be, so will they just basically buy their unit?
Yeah,
Right?
walls
And
in,
then
if you will.
Right,
Walls in, if you
and
will.
the property itself is still part of Mill
That's right.
Pond as the rest of it is.
That's right. And there'll be cross easements for the use and access, obviously, to the mailroom and maintenance, and then there'll be easements or exclusive use common areas for those courtyards that are to be used by the individual unit owners. Yeah. Trying to make it resemble as closely as possible what exists out there, even though we're living in a slightly different world today, so.
Who- Who's parking their equipment back there for years now? Who owns that equipment back there?
Yeah, that's,
So I would
it's not
imagine
mine.
the guys that were doing the construction on the property They hire guys to do the siding, the roofing, and that's storing their materials, storing their units. And then
Any questions?
They had a lot of structural problems on their foundation, so it was a lot of work on there. So.
Any comments or questions regarding?
You said you talked to a lot of butters. Did you talk to the next one up on Stevens Street?
Yes, in fact, I think he's here.
We're gonna,
We'll hear from
I
you.
promise we're gonna get to you.
Gotcha.
Promise.
Gotcha.
Anything else from the board?
I'm good.
Any public comment? Here's your time to shine.
There you go.
Hey, Tom.
Tom Holland, 135 Stevens Street, I'm the abutter. And Tom has been great. He's met with me several times. And I've shared with him my biggest concern. You know, when I bought the property, it's 6 years ago, 7 years ago, we had a real big water problem in our basement. We flooded. So I put in a whole system down there to take it out, and the water runs off from that direction to the house and comes up. My concern to Tom was, how do I know that there isn't going to be a change to the flow of water that's going to enhance this at this point? Because any change at all is going to bring on even more water, and I'll probably have to put in a different system in order to keep the water out. That's the one challenge of that piece of property. And so, you know, again, Thomas and I have talked about it. I think that's where the well came in, right?
Yeah.
That you're putting in, but I still don't know how, I'm not an engineer, so I don't know how this water is gonna flow. And I'm looking for, from anybody, some kind of assurance that this is gonna be a zero type of change, because it's gonna mean a difference to whether or not I take on more water in my basement. Okay? Any other questions for me?
I think that's it.
Okay.
And if I can respond, that
I would love for you to respond.
thanks, Tom, for the way you presented that. I appreciate that. You know, that's part of the reason we would have done a drainage analysis anyway. But that's really the driving force behind doing that and presenting that initially. We wanted to make sure that you know, right now, the vast majority of that site produces runoff to the surrounding properties and street. And we wanted to prove from an engineering standpoint, and Civil Design has done that with their analysis. I think it's a 50 or so page report, and with a one-page summary that I think is somewhat understandable, at least, that pretty much confirms that there's either a net zero or a reduction in runoff. So
I don't have to worry about any abutters coming back in 6 months to a year screaming at me.
You're referring to this document, right?
yes, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, I suppose the one thing you have going in your favor in this regard is that it is not an open field that you're replacing. It is something that is already paved and, you know, for better or for worse, impermeable.
That's right. In fact, you know, if push came to shove, I mean, you know, Al Manzi was here earlier talking about, you know, a net zero kind of a thing. I mean, you know, if it was necessary, we could reduce the runoff dramatically, because it's almost entirely a runoff situation today, and we have much less impervious surface in the post development. We've provided, you know, the analysis. We've provided the grading. I'm very, you know, tuned into and concerned about the neighbors. I always am with all my work. So when Tom and I talked, we wanted to make sure that was not going to be an issue.
So, I mean, what I see is the peak flow rate comparison is a reduction 2-year, 10-year, and 100-year across the board.
Yeah.
Rest assured.
And this application is going to the Conservation Commission, it sounds like.
That's correct. It's concurrent. We're running as we typically do,
Yeah.
concurrently with them. Yeah, as I said, the wetland is across the street, but if you look at the site plan here, we actually revised what the plan was pursuant to some discussions with the agent, and we have only 4 square feet, which is, you know, about 6 pieces of paper worth of area within the 100-foot buffer.
Right.
So it's pretty minimal. So but, you know, we want to respect, you know, the process, obviously, and we're downslope also from the wetlands as well. So we'd, in order for us to really affect that wetland, we'd have to pump into it.
Right.
You know, as a matter of
Yeah.
fact.
I was just thinking in terms of like oversight for the hydrology changes.
Right.
Sounds like they've got it.
Yeah, I think that's in their, you know, in their court, really.
Yeah.
You know.
Any other questions from anybody in the audience? Comments? Nothing? Forever hold your peace?
I don't want to, I just feel like I should.
You're more than welcome to come
I'm
up.
the president of the Mill Pond HOA.
Good evening.
And so I'm here to support Tom.
Can you identify your name and address? for the
Mary
record?
Ann Gillen, 60 Mill Pond.
Thank you.
He is correct. We were required to get 75% of the homeowners to vote in favor of basically giving the board the power to sell development rights to Tom for this property. 120 homeowners, 98 voted favorably, 8 voted negatively. We did it in 30 days. So to say that the population there is in favor of this is probably a bit of an understatement. We're very excited to work with Tom. As you can tell, he dots his I's and crosses his T's.
He smiles a lot.
And smiles a lot, yes. So if at any point you have any questions about how this will work, we have met with our management company, we've met with our legal counsel and our insurance agents to make sure that the documentation for these buildings will dovetail with the HOA documents, and they will have exactly the same board. So all that has been nailed out in advance. So,
Okay.
thank you.
Anything from the board? Anything further?
Nothing.
Would you like us to vote?
That would be great.
I vote that, I move that we close public comment.
Can I have a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Discussion?
None.
Questions?
Looks
Comment?
good to me.
It's a nice environment where the abutters are, for the most part, with one exception, are mostly the stakeholders as well, so.
Okay. So then I guess Jen, who's voting since I lost Alan?
Laura.
Laura's voting, okay. Can I? Motion?
Yes, I guess, how do I want to do this? Do
So
I
you
do
make
both
the
at once or
motion-
one at a time?
I would do them at the same time in the same order that you read them in, so 1 and then 2.
All right, I move that we approve the petitions of Zenco LLC for the properties at 122 Mill Pond Lot 1 and Lot 2. For Lot 1, the applicant is requesting a special permit pursuant to Town of North Andover zoning bylaws, Section 195-4.3.N1B and subsection N4, two-family dwellings by a special permit in accordance with Section 195-10.7 of this bylaw for the purpose of constructing a new two-family residential structure. Specifically, applicant has requested to raise the existing tennis courts and construct a new two-family structure on the vacant lot. And for Lot 2, the applicant is requesting a special permit pursuant to the Town of North Andover zoning bylaws, Section 195-4.3.N1B for subsection N4, two-family dwellings by special permit in accordance with Section 195-10.7 of this bylaw for the purpose of constructing a new two-family residential structure. Specifically, applicant has requested to raise the existing tennis courts and construct a new two-family structure on the vacant lot.
I would also reference
Oh, yeah, and
the
we are-
civil design.
Yes, we are referencing the design by Zenco LLC, A110, 103, 104, 105, A106, A107, A108, A109. And are these the same or are these different? See, yeah, these are the same, and then we've got Civil Design Group, drawings by the Civil Design Group, site plan list, pages 1 through, and what's the date on this? This is dated, anyone see the date? 4/10/2023. And pages 1 through 7, as well as a plan by GPI, which is another group, dated December 15th, 2022, with the current lot specifications. Oh, and the letter referencing water development by the Civil Design Group, dated February 7th, 2023.
Is that everything? Ron seconding that?
I'll second it.
Wait, Ron already beat you to it.
I was just quiet about it.
He was,
Speak up, Ron.
Second.
oh, there we go. Laura?
Aye.
Steve?
Aye.
I'm an aye.
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 Thank you, folks, very much, and I just want to address a housekeeping item here. I forgot to introduce my son, Derek.
Hi, Derek.
How's it going?
Derek, I work with my father. Good luck.
I guess I'm the tech guy.
I'm the same in my firm, so I get it. And it's rough working with family, so.
Yes, it
Yeah,
is,
I
and
was gonna say-
we sometimes forget the help that we have all around us, don't we? Thanks, Steve.
Got a lot of very cooperative.
Just remember, that's your retirement plan.
Thank you, folks.
Thank you.
Have a good night, guys.
Thanks.
Okay.
Do you have anything else?
And I believe that is it.
I would like to move to adjourn.
Can I have a second?
I second.
Can I have a vote?
Aye.
There we go. Thank you, everybody.